Good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody today? Happy Saturday. If you're joining me on Saturday, it's Saturday morning here in Tokyo. And it is a beautiful day. It's a beautiful sunny day here today. And I'm very, very happy. I've been up for a long time. I couldn't sleep last night. And I'm actually really excited about today's lesson. We're going to have a fairly difficult lesson today, but it's going to be a lesson that I think is actually going to help a lot of people improve their English, especially when practicing and speaking with reported speech. Today, we're going to do something very unique in the lesson, something that I haven't done in previous live lessons. We will be adding a listening element to today's lesson. So of course, you're always listening to me and you're trying to understand what I am saying. But in today's lesson, we are going to sort of level that up and you will get some extra listening practice, which then you have to use to speak English. So it's going to be a good lesson. It's going to be a difficult lesson. I'll get started soon. I'm just going to wait for people to jump in. And once people jump in, then we can get started. I also need to put the lesson onto this computer. I've got two computers here, and I need to send the lesson to the right computer. So just bear with me as I do that right now. We always put the lessons onto the screen. If this is your first time joining me, so I'm always going to put the lesson on the screen for you to see. And I'll do that very soon. You'll see it come up. I'm just airdropping it to this computer. And let's put that lesson onto the screen right now. Today, we are going to be doing this lesson right here. Reported. We've done a lesson before on reported speech. Today's lesson is not reported speech, but it's going to be reported questions and reported commands. All right, so they're a little bit different, but we are going to be reporting questions and commands. So if you are wondering what is reported speech or what are reported questions, so basically what this means is, in today's lesson, is somebody asked you a question, or maybe somebody asked another person a question, and maybe I didn't hear the question. I was not listening, or I was not paying attention, or maybe the person's voice was too low. So I didn't hear the question. So I asked maybe my friend, or a colleague, a coworker, a family member. Maybe I asked, what did he say? What did she say? So my friend is going to report. My friend is going to tell me what the original question was. So that is reported questions. Reported speech is the same thing. So somebody said something, I didn't hear it, or I was not there. So another person reports it, tells us what was said. All right, so we'll go over the grammar first so you completely understand what we will be doing. Once we get to the grammar, next we will do an exercise so you can practice making these sentences. And then after that will be the challenge. This is where I will introduce some listening, and you have to practice your listening and report the questions that you hear. All right, but before we start here, let's look at one sort of slang word. It says right here, speak like a native, speak like a native, which is right here in the red underline mark. We've got the word peanuts. We've got the word peanuts. Now, what does peanuts mean? Of course, peanuts, original meaning of peanuts, and I'm gonna make this bigger so you can see it. I think it's really small on the screen right now. Let me just check. Okay, so it's getting a little better, but it is a bit small. Peanuts. Peanuts is a food. It's a nut, right? I'm sure everybody has tried a peanut in their life. But in this meaning, we're not talking about the food. This is a slang meaning. So it's not talking about food. It's not talking about nuts. So let's look at the example sentence, and then let's try to figure out what this means. So my example sentence says, my friend quit his job because he said he couldn't work for peanuts. All right, so my friend quit his job because he said he couldn't work for peanuts. Now, what do you think that means? What do you think that means? Bear with me. I'm just going to put an extra light onto my computer here. Okay. There we go. Make it a little bit brighter. All right. My friend quit his job because he said he couldn't work for peanuts. So basically, what this means, what peanuts means, it means, okay, very little money. Very little money. So the salary, the payment is very, very small. So my friend quit his job because he said he couldn't work for such little money, for such a low salary. So it's very little money. So peanuts has a slang meaning to mean not that much money. Okay, so hopefully you understand that. If you're still a little confused, you can ask me any question in the comment section. That's with anybody as well. If you're watching this on the replay, I'm sorry you couldn't join the live lesson. It is early here on in Japan. It's 8:45 now. So hopefully you can join the next lesson. But if you're watching this in the replay, you have questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section. Okay, let's look at today's grammar. Today's grammar is going to be on reported orders and reported questions. And what we'll do first is we will look at reported orders first. And for me, when I'm talking about an order, I'm talking about a command. Somebody is commanding you to do something. Somebody is commanding you to do something. All right, so let's look right here. It says we use this pattern to ask someone to do something directly. Now, we've got the grammar pattern here, right? So whenever somebody asks you to do something, now I'll give you an example of a command. Let's look at an example of a command. I think sometimes this is a very common command. I think many parents, many mothers, many fathers will be telling their children, eat all of your vegetables. All right, so when we have a command, many times the first word, right, the first word can be a verb. It doesn't always have to be a verb. It could be a subject as well, but you are commanding, you're ordering someone to do something. Now, whenever you have this type of sentence and we want to report it, then we will use this pattern right here. We'll use this pattern right here. And this pattern says, we're going to start with the subject told me to plus verb or not to plus verb. Now, if we look at the above example, eat all of your vegetables. Eat all of your vegetables. Let's imagine, let's think, my mother is telling me. My mother is telling me, eat all of your vegetables, Shelley. So then maybe my sister says to me, what did mom say? Right? So maybe my sister asks me, what did mom say? Then I would say, mom told me to eat all of my vegetables. Mom told me to eat all of my vegetables. So if you look, it's going to follow this pattern here. We've got the subject is mom told me, then to eat all of my vegetables. Whenever we are doing a reported order, reported command, the verb stays the same. So we've got eat and we've got eat. The only thing we have to change is the pronoun. Your becomes my. Okay, but just be careful of that. We have to change our pronouns, but the verb is the same. The verb doesn't change. All right, so let's look at a couple of more examples. First, we've got the boss. All right, so we're going to look right here. Okay, so let me make sure everybody can see that on the screen. Yeah, so we're going to be looking right there, the boss. Boss says, maybe the boss is speaking to me, and the boss says, call me at 2 p.m. Call me at 2 p.m. So if we follow the pattern, my boss told me, and to plus verb to call him at 2 p.m. So maybe my boss is a man. So I say to call him at 2 p.m. All right. Now let's look at another example. In this example, it says the manager, please submit your expense report by Friday. Please submit your expense report by Friday. So my reported speech becomes, my manager told me to submit my expense report by Friday. So we just changed the pronoun to my. Now, let's look at one more example, and I'm going to do that together. Okay, let's just say that, again, this time it's the dad talking. Okay, the dad is talking. And maybe the dad is saying, don't stay up late. All right, the dad says, don't stay up late. What this means is, go to sleep at a reasonable time. So don't stay awake. Don't stay awake until very late. So that's what the dad says. Dad says, don't stay up late. Now here, if you notice, I've added negative. I've added a not. This is a direct negative command. So if we have a negative command, we will be using not to and verb, not to and verb. So if we look and we want to report this, so I can say, Dad told me not to stay up late. So whenever you have a negative, please add not and then to plus verb. So Dad told me not to stay up late. Okay, so those are reported commands or reported orders. So the thing you have to remember is this pattern. Please use told me, told me. Don't say asked me or said me. That is incorrect. We must say told me. In fact, said me is incorrect English. It's not correct grammar. So subject told me, to plus verb, or not to plus verb. Okay. Now, next, let's look at reported questions. Reported questions. Okay. So in this one, we're going to be using ask. Whenever it's a question, we will use asked. First, let's look at yes/no questions. A yes/no question means that the answer is yes or no. We've got the pattern. If we have a yes/no question, we're always going to be using this grammar right here. This pattern, it's the subject, asked me, if plus subject and verb. Okay, asked me if plus subject and verb. Now I've got me in brackets because sometimes you don't need to say me. All right, so let's look at the very first example. So in this first example, me, boss. So I am asking my boss a question. I am asking my boss a question. I ask my boss, can I have some more time, please? Can I have some more time, please? All right. So maybe if we practice reporting this, I asked my boss for some more time. I asked my boss for some more time. Okay. Could I have your help? She is asking me. She asked me for help. Okay. And let's do an example together. Okay. And then I'm going to stay with the whole mum to me scenario here. My mom is asking me a question. Can you drive me to the mall? All right, so my mom asked me this question. Can you drive me to the mall? So my reported speech for this, my mom asked me to drive her to the mall. Not a question. My mom asked me to drive her to the mall. Okay. Also, if we want to use the pattern above, this is, if my mom is ordering me. Okay. If we look at the grammar, we're going to use if. If. All right. So let's correct this. My mom asked me if I could drive her to the mall. Okay, so my mom asked me if I could drive her to the mall. All right, so do not forget this if. My mom asked me if I could drive her to the mall. Okay, and we have one more thing we're going to do for grammar, and then it's going to be your chance to make these sentences. Next is going to be reported questions. With the question, we're going to be using subject, asked me, WH, question word, subject, and verb. Subject and verb. And if you notice, I've got this asterisk right here. So this is very important because the verb is going to change. The verb is going to change. And I'll show you that in the example. So if we look, boss is speaking to me. My boss asked me, when will you finish? That's the direct question. All right, so remember we're using the verb will in this, will. Now to report this, my boss asked me when I would finish. All right, so if we're following the grammar pattern above, my boss asked me when I would finish. So if you notice, it's not will. I changed the verb. So whenever you're doing reported questions and reported speech, we always change the verb 1/10 into the past. 1/10 into the past. So if it's present tense, we change it to past. Present perfect goes to past perfect. All right, if we're saying future, it goes into the past. So will becomes a would. Okay, let's look at another example. So he to me, when are you coming here? When are you coming here? So maybe my friend is asking me, when are you coming here? So he asked me when I was coming there. Right? So the be verb becomes into the past. He asked me when I was coming there. And let's look at the last one here. A girl is asking a boy, when did you wake up? So I'm using a past question. A past question. When did you wake up? Okay, so wake, if you notice, is present tense. I've got past here. I've got a present verb here. So because it's past, direct is past. So that must mean my reported question becomes past perfect. So she asked him when he had woken up. When he had woken up. Okay, so we're always moving from 1/10 into the back. Good morning, Coney. How are you today? We have a tough lesson today, reported questions, reported commands. Good morning, HS. Long time no see, long time no talk. I hope you're doing well. That's okay, no problem. We just finished the grammar, and the next exercise, we're going to be kind of talking about the grammar again. So you're right on time, so don't worry. All right, so let's, the best way to practice reported speech, reported offers, questions, commands, is to just make sentences, is to try to make it. So that's what we'll do now. So my lesson froze. I need to reload it here. Okay, there we go. All right, so we've got a yes/no question here. Yes/no question. So I want you to report these commands and questions. Now, every time I want you to say, you know, this person, my boss, is speaking to you. My boss is speaking to you. So I'm asking you, what did your boss say? What did your doctor say? What did your supervisor say? Okay, so it's always going to be, my boss asked me. My boss told me. Okay, so please use the pronoun me in these situations. All right, so this one is going to be a yes/no question. A yes/no question. So let's put the grammar how we want it here. So whenever we have a yes/no question, we're always going to be saying the subject I'm going to make a banner so it's easy. And today we're going to be using asked me. Okay, so this is going to be the grammar pattern that you will follow. So start with your subject, asked me if the subject, and then verb. Now this verb as well, please change it 1 into the past, 1/10 into the past. So we've got boss, can you work this weekend? Can you work this weekend? Now I'll do this one with you. My boss asked me, okay, and I forgot in my, yeah, we got if there. My boss asked me if I could work this weekend. My boss asked me if I could work this weekend. Okay, so here, if you look at the subject, if you look at the banner I've got, that's the pattern. So the first subject is my boss asked me if, and then the second subject, we're talking to me, right? So the subject is I. My boss asked me if I. The original question is using can. The original question is using can. So I change it into the past, and we change that to could. Okay, so can becomes could. Then the rest stays the same. Work this weekend. All right, so my boss asked me if I could work this weekend. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Let's look at the next one. I want everybody to try here. Now, first one was a yes/no question, and I've got the banner above here. You can see the banner, the pattern for a yes/no question. The second one, it says, my doctor. My doctor says, you must exercise more. Now, this is not a question. This is not a question, right? This is a command. Even though the doctor doesn't say exercise more, the doctor says you must exercise more. But it's the same as a command. It's very similar to a command. So if we have a command and we want to report the command, all right, so again, we're going to start with our subject. So we're going to say my doctor. But this time, we're not going to say asked me. I want you to change it to told me. Now, what you're going to do here, after told me, you can either use to plus verb or not to and verb. It's your choice. So you're going to be using a grammar pattern like that. Subject told me, to plus verb or not to and verb. All right, so what is your reported question here? Paramesh, good morning. Wow, you're up early. That's awesome. That's awesome, Paramesh. Good to see you. All right, so let's use this. Remember, in this sentence, the beginning, I'll start the beginning for you. My doctor. Okay, that's your subject. That's your subject. So if you look at the red banner at the bottom, the subject is my doctor. Now, just continue and follow the pattern and make your answer. And Coney, you've got it. My doctor told me to exercise more. Perfect. Perfect. My doctor told me to exercise more. All right, great, perfect. So if we're looking at that grammar pattern, my doctor told me, then to plus verb, exercise, to exercise more. Paramesh, perfect. And just to let you guys know, HS, Paramesh, Coney, today's lesson is actually going to be something we're going to do a little bit different today. We're going to do these exercises now where you're going to see the question, you're going to see the command, and you're going to change it into a reported style. After this, though, we are going to be incorporating, we're going to be testing your listening. This is something I've never done during a live lesson, so I'm excited about it. So we're going to do some listening practice today. So after we finish this exercise, you will see the listening and speaking exercise we will do next. So Coney, a command is usually something that someone or maybe a company tells us to do, right? Yeah, it's not a question. And a lot of times, you know, if I were to say, you know, a command, most traditionally, the command is going to begin with a verb, right? The command will begin with a verb. That's the strongest way to give a command. You're ordering someone. So you could say, you know, and I said this example already, but it's a very easy example. When we were children, our moms probably always told us, eat your vegetables. Eat your vegetables. She's not asking us. She's telling us, eat your vegetables. Now, sometimes the command, if you notice here, I've got the subject at the beginning. All right, you must exercise more. So this is a softer command. The doctor is not going to yell at you and say, exercise more. The doctor will add the subject. So these are both commands. They're ordering us. They're telling us to do something. Yeah, Coney, reported speech. Reported speech, I've done a lesson on that before. I'll do another one in the future. This is going to be only about questions and commands. It's a little bit easier. But the one thing you have to know, for commands, it's super easy. Because as you can see, the grammar pattern is just 2 plus verb, not 2 plus verb. The verb doesn't change. Now, with reported questions, yes, no, or WH, or reported speech, our verbs must go into the past. So we always put the verb one back. So if it's present tense, past tense. If it's past tense, past perfect. All right, so it's always going back one. All right, so let's look at the next one. Let's look at the next one. And the next one, it says, my supervisor is speaking. You can't check private websites at work. So this is also an order. This is a command. So it's the same grammar pattern we're going to use here. You'll get a chance with the questions, Coney, to change the verb. So you'll get an idea. So let's do this one first. And it says, you know, the supervisor says, you know, you can't check private websites at work. You can't check private websites at work. I'm just going to make another banner for the WH one. So if we look at this number 3, it says you can't check private websites at work. Keyword here is can't, right? Can't is a negative command. It's a negative command. So it's saying not. So in this situation, we will be using not, to, and verb. Not, to, and verb. Okay, so again, the subject, the first subject is going to be my supervisor. My supervisor. So my supervisor. Supervisor means boss. Supervisor means manager. My supervisor told me. Today, every time it's going to be me. Sometimes it'll change. In this one, it's my supervisor told me. Now, let's follow after told me. I'm going to be using to plus verb or not to plus verb. This is negative, so it's going to be not to check private websites at work. All right, my supervisor told me not to check private websites at work. Coney, my supervisor told me no to here. It's going to be not to. Not to. This is where a lot of people will make a mistake. They'll say to not, because it sounds more natural. But for reported, it's going to be switched. Not goes first and to goes second. Not to check private websites at work. So yeah, Coney, not to is correct. Now, this is a great question. So, Coney has just asked, do I use not to or to not? Now, if you're taking a grammar test, if you're taking TOEIC, TOEFL, IELTS, CEFR, whatever test that you may be taking, a Versant test, then not to. That's the correct grammar. But if you're just worried about communication, you just want to improve your fluency in communication. If you said, my supervisor told me to not check private websites at work, nobody will care. And nobody will think, oh, you made a mistake. In fact, a lot of people, I lived in the US for so long, and a lot of people don't speak with correct grammar in the US or in Canada or in the UK, but that's okay. So depending on your goal, I always say, try to remember it with perfect grammar. Do that first. And then when you are fluent, then it's not going to matter. Good question, Coney. All right, let's go to the next one. Now it says here, my manager, it goes, are you able to finish the report today? Are you able to finish the report today? Now, this is a yes/no question. This is a yes/no question, because my answer would be, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. Yes, I am, or no, I'm not. All right, so this will be your first chance to be changing the verb, right? This will be your first chance to be changing the verb. So make one little addition to the banner. I'm going to put an asterisk there. All right, so remember, the verb needs to change here. So I've got a little asterisk there. Okay, so here, my manager is the first subject. My manager is the first subject. And Coney, you're welcome. And I know there's some people on here. If somebody already answers it, you should also answer it as well. Even if you have the same answer, practice typing it out and practice writing it, because that's just building your kind of, we say, muscle memory. You're practicing how to say it. So I encourage you to, even if you're not the first person to answer it, even if you're not the second, third, or fourth, even if you're fifth, if you're 10th, type it out, because that really helps you to improve your speaking. And even if we've gone to the next question, that's okay. You can type answers for previous questions. So number 4, my manager, are you able to finish the report today? Are you able to finish the report today? Okay, so we're going to be starting this one, and I'll just start it for you. My manager, because that's the subject, asked me. All right, so I've already done half of it for you. I've done half of it for you. My manager asked me. And then we know if we follow that red banner at the bottom of the screen, my manager asked me, and then we know it's going to be if is next. Then we've got a subject, and then we have to be careful about the verb. Then the rest of the sentence is going to stay the same. You know, if there are pronouns, be careful of your pronouns. Pronouns will have to change. So remember with the verbs, and I've got the asterisks and the banner there. With the verb, we're always going to be putting the verb 1/10 into the back. 1/10 into the past. So present tense goes to past tense. Present continuous, past continuous. Future, past. Past, past perfect. Present perfect, past perfect. It always goes back. HS, my boss asked me if I could finish this report today. Perfect. I'm going to come back to HS's answer because this is really important to point out. Coney, you have the same answer. My manager asked me if I could finish the report today. Perfect. Perfect. Now, I like both these. If we're just following, because I'm looking at the sentence, we could say, my manager asked me if I was able to finish the report today. All right. So that, I'm directly reporting this word for word. I've changed are into was. I've changed are into was. So this is like directly reporting it. But I like HS and Coney. You both said could. You both said could. And able to, be able to equals can. And can, the past of can is could. So excellent. Now, when you're reporting anything, you don't have to report it exactly word for word. As long as the message is the same, you can change any of the words. And HS, Coney, great job. You changed it to could, which is perfect. My boss asked me if I could finish this report today. My boss asked, or my manager asked me if I could finish this report today. Perfect. Okay, let's look at the next one. We've got the policeman. Policeman says, could you move your car? The policeman says, could you move your car? Now, if we look at this sentence, or if we look at this question, technically it's yes, no. Technically it's yes, no. So we could follow that pattern. But if you want, if a policeman is asking you a question, like to do something, most times we don't say no. Most times we feel it's like a command. So if you wanted, you could report this like a command, or you could report it like a yes/no question. So if I say was in that sentence, it doesn't really mean the action was already happened. No. So that's a great question, Coney. It doesn't mean the action has happened. So was, because it's past tense. What this is saying is the question already happened. So my manager's question is in the past. That's why I report it and I change it into the past. The action is still not done. The action is still pending, but the question was asked in the past. So I reported in the past. And this is also, Coney, this is a good point too. A few seconds ago, you know, in English grammar, if something is reported immediately, like completely, few seconds later, then it's possible to keep the verb the same. But if a few minutes have gone by, or 30 seconds have gone by, or a day, 2 days, then it's probably best to put it in the past. And for me personally, any reported speech, any reported question, I tend to always put it in the past because the question was asked in the past, whether it be 1 second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 day ago. Great question, Coney. So yeah, number 5, it's your choice. If you feel this is a yes/no question, then you use the yes/no grammar pattern. If you feel this is a command, the policeman's asking me, but he's not asking me, he's telling me, then you use this pattern here. Your choice. Yeah, it is confusing, Coney. It is confusing because you're thinking, no, it's not done yet. It's not done yet. He just asked me. So why do I say the past tense? Yeah, so we're reporting the question, and that the question's already done. Sorry, that's my coffee machine making a lot of noises. Paramesh, the policeman ordered. Okay, if we're going to use ordered, we should say ordered me. Ordered me. Okay, ordered me. Okay, so we should say ordered me in this situation. Perfect. There you go. Perfect, Paramesh. The policeman ordered me. Now, because ordered me, this is a command. This is a command. So it's going to follow this grammar pattern here. So instead of told me, we've said ordered me. So the policeman ordered me to move my car. So ordered me is the same as a command. So it follows this pattern. So instead of told me, we change it to ordered me. Now, I like this one. This one as well, I want to point out. If we use it as a yes/no question, could, the verb could is not going to change. The verb could is not going to change. There's no way for that to go further back. So this one, if we use it as yes/no, I can say the cop asked me if I could move my car. And here I changed the word policeman to cop. And Paramesh, perfect. The policeman ordered me to move my car. Yeah. I think sometimes when a policeman is asking you to do something, it's not asking, they're ordering, they're telling you. But if you do want to make it as a yes, no, then could will not change. And I need to change this. Not my car. Move. The cop asked me if I could move my car. All right, let's do a couple more, and then I want to get into the listening point because I do need to go to my school today for lessons. All right, so this one here, number 6, basically Bob is asking a question to a female employee. All right, so the boss is Bob is asking, what time can you come into work today? What time can you come into work today? All right, so here we're going to be reporting this, but this is going to be a WH question. So we must follow this pattern. The subject asked me, please include the question word, then the subject again, and the verb goes one into the past, one back. So here, now the second subject is not you. We're talking about a female employee. So it's not asked me. Okay, it's going to be asked her. Bob is a man's name. Yeah, it's a very common man's name in English. So Bob is actually short. It's a nickname for Robert. Robert is your original name. Bob is the nickname. Good question. Coney, so you got the cop ordered me if I could move my car. So ordered me is going to be a command. It's going to be a command. So we are going to be using it this. Command means I have no way to say yes or no, or they're just telling me to do something. So ordered me works like a command. So we're not going to use could in this one. So you'd be saying the cop ordered me to move my car. The cop ordered me to move my car. All right, so just to, I'll put that up here. The cop ordered me to move my car. All right. Okay, so what about number 6? Number 6. This is going to be a question. It is a question, so please report this like a question. And I'll begin this one for you. Because the asked me is going to be a little different. So let's change that, because I'm going to put a bracket around this, because me will change into the pronoun that is related to the question. So Bob asked her. Bob asked her. All right, so how do we finish that question? Okay, so you got parametric. Bob inquired her. So inquired, we never use a pronoun. And inquired or inquiry is a very, very formal word. So it's not really used so much in everyday spoken English, even at work. We usually use inquired more like a noun in inquiry. So asked me is probably going to be the more common word to use here. And if it's a WH question, there's no if. There's no if. We've got here, Bob asked a female employee, what time could she come into work today? Okay, conversational, that's perfect. If you're just worried about speaking conversationally, fluently, that's perfect. I understand it. I won't even worry about grammar here because I don't think it's that. But if we're worried about grammar, HS, Bob asked her what time she could come into work. She could come into work. So not could she, she could. We are going to switch the subject and the verb in the WH question. So it's a little confusing that we switch it when we report. Right? So if you notice here, asked me, WH, subject, and then verb, not verb subject. All right, so Bob asked her what time she could come into work. And of course, this can becomes could because I change it into the past. But encoded, don't worry, because honestly, if you were living in the US, if you're living in Canada, and you said your reported question, no one would even notice. No one would even notice. So don't worry, don't stress out about it too much. So Bob asked a female employee what time she could come into work. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yes. Okay, let's do one more where you can see it. Let's do one more where you can see it. Now, this is a yes/no question. It says, my friend is asking me. My friend is asking me. Let's say you have a question here, Shelly. If I say she can come into work, what would be the difference? Again, if you don't change the verb from can to could, in spoken English, it's completely fine. It's completely fine. But if you're taking a grammar test, it does need to go into the past because the question was asked in the past. But the meaning, yeah, it's the same. So, all right, last one where you can see it. It's a yes/no question. Have you ever been to Thailand? Have you ever been to Thailand? And so my friend is asking me. So you can say, my friend asked me. All right, so here, yes/no question. Almost Coney, almost Coney, almost Coney. Don't forget, we need a verb. We need a verb here. Don't forget this word here. Before I put the answer down, I'll let you do it one more time. Okay, Paramesh also almost conversationally perfect, Paramesh. Conversationally perfect. If we're worried about grammar, if you're taking one of those tests that everybody takes, then again, make sure you worry about this verb, because remember, every verb in reported speech or reported questions must go back one form into the past tense. HS, my friend asked me if I had ever been to Thailand. Perfect. Perfect. Have will go into had. Have will change to had. So my friend asked me if I'd ever been to Thailand. Okay, perfect, HS. Well done. And Cody here, my friend asked me if I've ever been to Thailand. Conversationally, perfect. Conversationally perfect. If you're taking, again, one of those grammar tests, change the I've to I'd. D instead of VE. Okay, so we're going to do probably about 10 more minutes because I do need to rush out and make it to my school in time for my first lesson. So what we'll do now is we'll go into the more difficult part of this lesson. At the very beginning, I said we will be practicing listening. We will be practicing listening. And that's what we will do now. This is not a listening lesson. You still are going to practice reported questions or commands. But so far, you have seen the actual sentence or question, the command or question on the screen. You can see it. And then I've put a banner up here where, you are seeing it's a command or it's a yes, no question or it's a WH question. Well, right now, you're not going to see the sentence, the question, the command. You're not going to see a banner. I'm not going to tell you. I'll quickly show you that I have a lot of things down here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to read it. I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to read the statement. And I want you to listen and then report it. Listen and then report. Okay, does everybody understand what they're going to do next? Okay, so I'm going to be asking you, I'm going to be speaking, and then you're going to listen and then report it. So Coney, for this one here, I've been, you should change it to I'd been. So change that to I'd been. Right, that's what you would want to use. So Bob asked her, or sorry, my friend asked me if I'd ever been to Thailand. Not I've been, but I had been. Okay, so everybody understands. The first one, I am asking. and I'm asking you. So your answer is going to be, you asked me. You asked me. That's how I'll start the first one for you. You asked me. Okay. All right. So here is my question. Would you like to go out for lunch? Would you like to go out for lunch? All right. So please report that. Would you like to go out for lunch? And I'm going to help you with the first one. Your first one should start like that. You asked me. Would you like to go out for lunch? So, Coney, you asked me if I'd like to go out for lunch. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. You asked me if I'd like to go out for lunch. Excellent, Coney. And so I'll put a banner on here just because it's a little bit bigger. You asked me if I would like to go out for lunch. It's the same as what Coney has just said. You asked me if I'd. I'd means I would. So she shortened it, which is better. It's better than what I wrote here. I would. I'd like to go out for lunch. All right, the next one, mom. Mom is speaking, and mom is speaking to you. Okay, mom is speaking to you. Coney, yeah, Shelly asked me if we'd like to go out for lunch. Perfect, perfect. Yes, you could mean all of you, so you change it to we. Excellent. So if it's just two of us, Coney, we don't say we. If it's just two of us, it would just be you. Or it would be I, sorry. Shelly asked me if I'd like to go out for lunch. But if there were several people, so I'm asking the group of you. I'm asking you, Paramesh, HS, would you like to go out for lunch? Because you can be a plural form. Then we can say we. So then it would be, Shelly asked me, Shelly asked us if we'd like to go out for lunch. Exactly, us. Good job, Paramesh. Okay, so the next one, mom is speaking. Okay, mom is speaking. Mom is speaking to you. Mom is speaking to you. This is what she says. Don't do that again. Don't do that again. All right, so what did your mom say? What did your mom ask? What did your mom command? You have to figure out which one it is. And I'll say it one more time. Don't do that again. All right, Coney, my mom ordered me not to do that again. Perfect, 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 perfect. My mom ordered me not to do that again. Perfect. And Paramesh, mom warned me not to do it again or that again. Don't forget it or that. Yeah, warned me. Excellent. So you added a new word. It works perfectly. Mom or my mom warned me not to do that again, to do it again. Excellent. I like that you added warned me, right? Connie said ordered me. And of course, we could also say here, my mom told me not to do that again. Okay, my mom told me, ordered me, warned me. Perfect. All right, I think we have time for a couple more. And I think this is good practice, so I will do another lesson like this. All right, so the next one, Parmesh, mom warned me not to do it again. Perfect. Great job, Parmesh. Nice. All right, next one, the person who is speaking is going to be a doctor. A doctor is speaking next. All right, so this is what the doctor says. You need to get more sleep. You need to get more sleep. So please report the doctor's question or statement. You need to get more sleep. All right, Coney, the doctor told me that I should get more sleep. Perfect. Perfect. Parmesh, the doctor, don't forget the or my doctor suggested me to take more sleep. Okay, sleep we don't take. If it's a nap, we can say take a nap. But just sleep, we need to get sleep. Get sleep. So and then suggested, no me. If you're using suggested, don't say me. Suggested is just by itself. So my doctor suggested to get more sleep. Coney's, the doctor told me that I should get more sleep. That I should get more sleep. I like it because in my sentence, I said need. You need to get more sleep. And so you've changed it and you used should, which is okay. The meaning of the sentence didn't change. The underlining message is the same. So it's okay to change words. That's why I like this exercise. If we listen and report, sometimes we change the words, but the message is the same. And that is perfect. Paramesh, the doctor suggested to get more sleep. Perfect, perfect. So there are a lot of words we can say. Told me, suggested, advised me. Advised me. We could also say. And everybody used, I think, sort of the command style, which is really good. Okay, let's go to the next one. This will be our last one, and then I need to leave. This last one here, we are going to be doing it, and let's say the person who is speaking is my roommates or your roommate. The doctor told me I should get more sleep. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. That is perfect, Coney. We're not going to put me with suggest. We're not going to put me with suggest here. Okay, last one. Roommate says, did you remember to lock the door? Did you remember to lock the door? One more time. One more time. Roommate is asking you a question. Did you remember to lock the door? Okay, we got a couple of answers here. Let's see what we have. My roommate asked me if I remembered to lock the door. Perfect. My roommate asked me if I could lock the door. Not could in this situation. Could is means, are you able to do it or not? Can you do it? Do you know how to lock it? Instead of could, I would just say locked. If I locked the door. If I locked the door. For me, my answer would have been here. I would change it into the past perfect. My roommate asked me if I had locked the door. If I had locked the door. The original question was, did you remember to lock the door? Did you remember? So this is a past question. So my reported, I will change it to past perfect. My roommate asked me if I had locked the door. Okay. But like I said, it's okay. Like Coney, your answer here, my roommate asked me if I remembered to lock the door. That's fine. That's fine. The grammar, we should had remembered. It's fine. But in conversation, I think your question, your answer is probably more common than mine. All right. So it's okay just to keep it. If it's past and you keep it in the past, that's fine. Do not worry. Okay. All right. So I want to continue this lesson. Yeah, I think it's really good practice. I think it's really good listening practice and listening to speaking. So let's continue this lesson next week. And I know that most of you actually join me on a specific day. So let's try to continue this next week. If you're not in the lesson, then I'll do something different. But if I see that you've joined, especially Coney Paramesh, you're answering a lot. If both of you have joined my next live lesson, let's continue doing this. All right. But I do need to go, or I'll be very late for class. One thing, just Paramesh, follow this pattern. Suggest something to me. Suggest something to me. Okay, so it is possible to use me, but most times we'll put the something before it. So, well, let me see what your sentence was here. Yeah, so you would say, my friend suggested a book to me. Okay. Perfect, Coney. Perfect. Okay. I need to go. I need to run. I need to run to the station. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. If you're watching this on replay, I hope you liked the lesson. Like, share, subscribe, all that fancy stuff. Thank you all very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want a copy of this lesson, just ask me and I can give it to you. But in the meantime, I'll see you guys all in the next lesson. See ya.